The aircraft the Government of Canada has chartered is currently in Tokyo. Earlier today, we sent a message informing Canadian citizens that we will begin pre-flight screening and disembarkation tomorrow evening, local time.
An update coming Wednesday on Ottawa's plans to bring home Canadians from the Diamond Princess cruise ship quarantined off Japan.
Once the disembarkation from the ship is complete, passengers will be transferred to buses, which will take them to the Haneda Airport in Japan, while they will board their flight to Trenton. In Trenton, passengers will be assessed and transported to the NAV Canada Training Institute in Cornwall, in Ontario, to undergo a further 14-day quarantine period.
Foreign Affairs Minister François-Philippe Champagne speaking as several other countries and regions were rolling out their own evacuation efforts. Passengers from Hong Kong left the pier in buses headed to a Tokyo airport to board a government-chartered flight. Around 170 Australians also exiting the ship ahead of another 14 days in quarantine down under. More passengers, including Japanese and foreign nationals, are still expected to disembark from the ship, but only those who test negative for coronavirus or COVID-19 are free to leave. The ordeal for the more than 3,700 people on board began more than 2 weeks ago. Hundreds on the ship have since tested positive, including dozens of Canadians. Those who fell ill were sent to hospital for treatment. A Japanese infectious disease specialist has condemned his government's handling of the quarantine.
The cruise ship was completely inadequate in terms of the infection control. No distinction between the green zone, which is free of infection, and the red zone, which is potentially contaminated by virus. There was no single professional infection control person inside the ship, and there was nobody in charge of infection prevention as a professional. The bureaucrats were in charge of everything.
Japan's health minister has defended his country's response, saying appropriate steps were taken.
Now, while the ship represents the biggest cluster of coronavirus cases outside mainland China, the Chinese province of Hubei is still home to the overall biggest number of coronavirus cases, and that number, it keeps on climbing.
China's latest figures showed there were now more than 70,000 cases of COVID-19 and more than 2,000 deaths, most of them in Hubei province. The first part of this week, though, saw the tally of newly reported cases falling to the lowest since late January. For City News, I'm Melissa Duggan.